Next up, we have Data Game and Jason Anderson.
All right, good afternoon. Something? You're good. My name is Jason. I'm here to introduce you to Data Game, which is a new self-service online feature gamification platform. Most gamification.
Hold on. Sorry. Right. There we go. Go ahead.
Let me wait 5 seconds.
Yes. You good to know.
No, thank you. Very gracious. So, most gamification work to date has focused on one of two areas. It's either been panel optimization, so how do we use gamification to encourage participation in studies, or it's been at a more tactical level, how do you encourage better behavior inside of an individual question type, like a slider or animation or tactical effects. Data game is about gamifying methodologies, so taking an entire module from a survey or a study and integrating that into a single experience that can then be used in a variety of different channels for a gamified experience. So by doing this, we tackle one of the biggest barriers to complete some of the heavier surveys, like a Maxiv or a conjoint, where you're going through a barrage of identical screens over and over where you see the biggest drop-off. By replacing that with an individual experience, we see much better engagement for the whole survey. We see better response rates, we see better satisfaction with the survey overall. So the broad use case that we see for data game at the moment are people like yourselves, marketers and research professionals, that use data game to publish these games into either existing surveys as a standalone experience, maybe on a web page, through social media, or as an activity in an online community, where you're trying to find a way to get deeper, more complex data, but still not have to compromise the experience you get on a mobile device. So one example would be a word search game, which this I know looks a little bit small here, but it plays perfectly fine on iPads and phones as well, where you're capturing two attributes at the same time as people play these games. You're getting some explicit feedback, so as you find words or concepts, ask a quick little question about that familiarity versus intent, whatever maybe you're interested in. But we also get some passive information about how hard was it for you to find that word. And from that, we get some information about familiarity.
Can you use the slide that's not working?
All right, we'll just stand right here.
You can hold it
No, we're good. I'll just stand right here. Another example, maybe a little bit easier to recognize, would be a max diff, where imagine instead of going through 12 identical screens, you have a deck of cards, and each of the cards in that deck has one of the attributes that are being tested in the max diff. And by playing the solitaire game that has rules that mimic much of what we do through a choice model, you can then get to reports as to the item on right. So as I mentioned, we've seen significant improvements in a variety of metrics. This is data based off of a large 20-country, large sample study that we ran in 2014. This was replacing a traditional max diff study with the card game-based version. On the left, we see significant improvement in satisfaction with the length of the survey that they took. And on the right is satisfaction or the enjoyability of the study overall with an even more significant impact. The really interesting thing about this data is that the people that played the game actually spent longer in study than the people that took the traditional version. So even though they are spending more time, the perception is that it's a faster experience because you're not going through that same repetitive item over and over. So current applications for data game based on the current game portfolio are things where you might expect to see force rank options or places where there'd be a big grid table that you want to convert into data, copy and logo testing, feature prioritization, sentiment affinity measurements, etc. The future roadmap for games include other categories, primarily in the choice modeling space to start, such as conjoint, but also looking at pricing games, virtual shopping, and crowdsourcing applications. I mentioned earlier that you can publish to multiple channels. Out of the box, it works quite well on Facebook as an integrated experience or through WordPress. You can publish directly to Qualtrics. We're partnered up with them through their innovation exchange to make that an even easier, more seamless process. Basically, anywhere that JavaScript can live, we can embed this game for you. So if you can get Google Analytics to run on a particular page, we can get the game to run there as well. And just a footnote, if you happen to be a potential partner with a platform that is like that, and you'd like us to add you as a publishing channel, just raise your hand or come find us, and we'd be happy to talk. The business model is very straightforward, subscription pricing, driven by how many users there are, how many games you need to run, how many organizations you're supporting. We try to keep the price points as accessible as possible here. The biggest barrier to gamification adoption to date has really been how fast can you turn this around? And not everybody can afford to wait 3 months for software to be developed for a game. We try to make this as customizable and off the shelf as possible. If that pipeline does not have what you're looking for, you can talk to us as well, and we can build a custom methodology for you. And as a thank you for giving me the 5 extra seconds and being so awesome, please go to the site. It's datagame.me. Use promo code IIeX and we'll get you a discount. Or if you come to our table, you can get even more. Thank you.
Okay, judges?
I've watched you guys do great work over the last couple of years, and I've always been struck by the fact that the difficulty that you have isn't the fact that you don't have a good product, it's getting it integrated because you're a module as part of a broader thing. I mean, it strikes me that your scalability right now, have you solved basically the product issues, and now it's just a question of business development and integration?
Yeah, it really is just a go-to-market issue at this point. We pushed the go live button on the platform yesterday morning. It is entirely self-service at this point, so anyone here can go to the site, and 15 minutes later you could have a Max Diff Gaming Qualtrics or on Facebook or wherever you're trying to put it.
On the back end, do you have similar interactive reporting, or I know the game itself is very interactive, but what about the
Yeah.
reporting?
So the reporting, there's a dashboard that is custom for each particular game type based on the types of data that are required in that experience. If that's not sufficient, we also make that exportable via an Excel dump, so you can integrate that in with the other survey data you may have collected.
I love the idea. I think it's terrific. I do think distribution will be a challenge for you. I think you'll be posed with a choice between going direct to clients or through distributors. What's your thinking about around distribution and the path that you'd like to take?
But you can probably infer from the pricing chart as was previously posted that we're playing both sides of the fence for now. I mean, there is a little bit of market testing required here and seeing which of those catalyzes faster, right? I think that longer term, the agency partnership is better, but there's a challenge there because you get into situations where if you're a tech partner, maybe you're Qualtrics and you don't want to see Decipher or SurveyMonkey or somebody else in that same platform. So for now, we're trying to keep it as agnostic as possible because really the most value in the platform is the fact that we can grow the catalog regardless of what platform you're currently using, and you still get the same value out of that, and we can also then expand to more platforms and give the whole thing more breadth.
I got 3, but I'll just ask one at a time here. How many games do you have?
We have 2 games done. We have a 3rd game that's in development. We have a 4th almost done.
Tech stack?
I'm sorry?
Technology? What technology are you running?
It's all Java-based. The front end is HTML5 and JavaScript.
And have you found is there any challenges associated with repeatability? If I play Solitaire, over and over again, do I start changing my behavior, or have you noticed any biases around repeatability?
We're pretty conservative on that, and so at the moment we only capture your first playthrough, and we try to use that as a gate to control data quality. I think we're not going to know until we get maybe another 6 months into this to know how significant of an issue that is.
And notice you don't have this simple things like UNAs that people run all the time. This is all set up around much more highbrow methodologies. Are there plans to introduce something that's more kind of everyday usage? Because I think that's a challenge that everyone in this room probably has, as much as the few and far between congen tests that we run.
Yeah, so yes, the short answer is yes. We've been very focused over the past 6 months getting the platform working and getting the publishing patent process into the different platforms, get that all settled out, right? But now that we have that up and running, we're pivoting back to the content side again. So I think you'll see much more rapid traction on the question type innovation over the next year.
I like it, so the games that you have there, at least to me, it still does look like surveys as opposed to games. So what do you think is the opportunity for you to make it more fun without sacrificing usefulness as a research?
So there are two goals for us when we create one of these new experiences. One is that it needs to make the overall research process more engaging for the user. So some quantifiable proof that it is more engaging versus what we were trying to replace. And separately, that we can collect data that is still actionable and useful. MaxDiff does not feel like playing a game. I completely agree with that. It feels like you're playing around the deck of cards. And yet, those proof points still stood on a non-game version. So there are other modes that we can apply to this that I think will push more in that direction over time, but I'm much more concerned about making sure the data stays valid and that we can prove out and measure improved engagement.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.